Hey, this is Esoteric the Red, and I want this one to be about the goal that you set in your spiritual growth. So, in a lot of videos, I talk about like making space for spiritual growth and practices for spiritual growth and what gets in the way of spiritual growth. But, I think it's important to ask the question, what is it that you are growing into? What does that mean? What does growing spiritually look like? And essentially, what you have to ask yourself is, do I want to build a tower? Or do I want to become a tree? You ask yourself this question after you come to the realization that what the world offers you is empty. It's a rat race that leads to nothing. It's a series of things you acquire that you tick off a box and yet don't really bring any lasting contentment. You realize that there's got to be more to life than, scrolling through your phone, going to work, drinking, going through dead end relationships, barely keeping your head above water. It's almost like you have to come to this realization first before you can really be like fed up enough with like being out in this facade that we call society. And you pretty well have to be over it. You really do kind of need to see it from the lens of it being a desert, that there is no salvation out there. And so at that point, if you still believe that a decent life is possible, you are likely to start gazing inward. And once you start gazing inward, it can be kind of daunting to know where to start. I often say pick a foundation. You need to have your foundation in something. And so in the lens of a tree and a tower being used for spiritual growth, a tower needs a sturdy foundation, and a tree with a good root system becomes immovable. A tower is more of an ego related venture, and there are paths out there associated with building a tower, but although exploring that, and although I've had people on that side of things do things to me, and so I know a lot about it, I mainly only want to teach people how to become trees with a strong root system, a strong foundation, watered by God, and dripping with the fruit of wisdom to become the tree of knowledge itself, the very knowledge that helps save people, the very knowledge that helps deliver gnosis to the people, so that they too may plant themselves, become sturdy, be nourished by God, deliver fruit to people, fruit that nourishes the soul, fruit that satiates your curiosities, fruit that doesn't necessarily spit out the answer like an AI, but nonetheless leads to it through your own problem solving, your own work, your own dedication. And I think it's wise for the first thing that you do in order to obtain a strong foundation is a quieting of the mind. A mind that is more observational and a mind that is less knee-jerk reactionary. A mind that is more open. Now, understand, as you discover truths, as you go along your journey, you will actually eventually become less open-minded, as you are no longer wondering what the truth is, but you are instead experiencing the gnosis of truth. And as you gain experiential knowledge and you go through events that solidify your view of what's really going on here, you will slowly stop to be so, well, yeah, it's a good thing to be open-minded. Be open-minded because you will become less and less and less of an anything-goes type of individual, because you realize when you just live and let live, in some of the situations people put themselves in while they live and let live leads to chaos. And chaos is not a good foundation. Chaos is no foundation at all. Understand that I've wandered through the winds of chaos, doing what is necessary to obtain the knowledge, and it is my wish to leave fruit even in places like this. And so this fruit that I give you is the fruit that would lead you to a quieter mind. I would start practicing guided meditations if you can't enter a meditative state. And if you're already there and you're already advanced past that, you already have a quiet mind, and you're like, oh man, I thought they said that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Don't worry, I am a teacher. And there are things that you must do after you quiet your mind. Quieten your mind might include a fast from screens and socializing for a while, so that you have fewer inputs going into your sensory perception. Your sensory perceptions can relax a bit. And I recommend a meditative state where you simply observe your thoughts. Don't even fight them. Don't try to enter a meditative state where there's nothing. Watch the show. Observe the thoughts that roll through and the images that roll through. Don't judge them at all. Watch them come through, float by, say hi, and leave. And by doing that, you can find that you'll have some pretty interesting experiences. But that's definitely the first step to becoming a tree. You gotta have a mind that has a degree of equanimity that can't be so knee-jerk reactionary. So that's definitely something you should shoot for. And I understand this is quite beginner stuff, but it's also necessary. If you don't get the basics down, you can't continue. Okay? So a quieter mind. Also, I really, really, really harp on virtue and wisdom. And so, not only do you need a quieter mind, but you need a code of morality. Okay? You have to have a code of morality. Sure, you might start off open-minded to ideas, but you yourself have a strict moral code that you adhere to and you self-govern. And you must practice this because we're growing, right? So say you want to be somebody, say you're not that confident, you want to be somebody that's confident. Make that a part of your code. Say you steal every once in a while, make it a part of your code to stop. I don't know if there's a person you admire whose traits you admire. Could be Muhammad for all I care. You admire his passion for God, and you admire his unceasing, relentless movement. He moves like a train, and say you wish you had that. And you're like, well, that's not me. That's not me. I tell you, get your mind quiet and start doing that anyways. Be confident anyways. And you're like, well, I'm not confident, so how can... We're just using confidence as an example here, but I approach confidence with the idea of that it doesn't even exist. If you try things without caring about the end result, it looks like confidence. But the truth is, you don't care what happens. You don't care what happens. And I urge you to start shaping your behavior. Don't fall apart and be like, well, this is just how I am. No, I'm telling you, shape your behavior like fucking Taxi Driver guy, only without the crazy, but that dedication, mirror that dedication. And that's what I mean by what I'm saying. Take qualities that you like. It's like, well, I don't want to be like the Taxi Driver guy completely, but I do like that he had a sense of justice. Maybe he didn't enact that justice in the right way, but he had a good sense of justice. I'd like that sense of justice. I'm tired of just watching things go by and doing nothing about it. And that's fine if you want to be that type of person. And what I'm trying to do is help you grow into that person. Okay? The person that isn't afraid to call out injustice. And that can look different to different people. So I also urge you to be wary of where you're aiming that. But yes, if you want qualities like confidence, a good sense of justice, my advice is to look at the people that have come before you and have displayed those behaviors and start to mime them and emulate them in your day-to-day life. LARP it. In your day-to-day life, LARP confidence, even if you have to not care about the result, okay? LARP dedication to God, even if you're not quite sure what it looks like. He's there, he's watching, he's always watching, he's everywhere. The eye of providence is everywhere. And he will see that you're trying. And that matters. One thing I've discovered about providence is it seems like he likes effort. And that the saying, God helps those who helps themselves is incredibly accurate. Things like an AI just spitting out esoteric answers, you can't stand it. That's all I got for this one. But again, if I'm going to talk about soul growth, and if I'm going to talk about esoterics, then I want there to be a baseline for you where it's like, all right, I have my mind in a state of equanimity, and I'm currently miming these virtues that I admire in other people. And there are some virtues I would say you must admire, or you can't become a tree. Can't lie, can't steal, can't be vengeful. Now, there is such a thing as, a sort of holy wrath or holy justice, but you're far away from that. But anyways, that's it for now.